Welcome into the 7-round mock draft for the Cleveland Browns. Guys, I have a ton of thoughts about the Browns. I don't want to bore you guys with a long intro where I kind of break down the entire position. If you're a fan of the Cleveland Browns, you know the situation. You know it's not looking great. You know that you probably can't name a position on the offensive side that couldn't use an improvement. And look, let's just go ahead and get into it. We got a lot of picks. We got a lot of things to talk about. Let's get into the 7-round mock for the Cleveland Browns. All right, let's go ahead and get into this. First pick should be Cam Ward, and it is here. I'm not going to lie, if it wasn't, I might have restarted this because I think Cam Ward is kind of locked into that number 1 pick. I do think the draft starts at number 2 with the Cleveland Browns. So obviously, Shedeur Sanders is going to be a conversation. The quarterback situation for the Browns is not great. Traded for Kenny Pickett. It sounds like Kenny Pickett could start just because of there was some complications with Deshaun Watson's injury, and even if he was available, would he start over Kenny Pickett? I mean, it's tough for me to sit here and tell you one way or the other. I don't know. I like to think he would, but I don't know. To me, that situation doesn't mean that you take Shedeur Sanders, who to me is just not a good I mean, he's not a top 10 pick at quarterback. He's not. And look, we can talk about a lot of different things. This has nothing to do with his dad's name. This has nothing to do with anything like that. I think he's a good player. I think he could have a role. I think he could start in the NFL. I'm not saying he couldn't, but with the second pick in the draft, it's just an insane reach. And I look at Shedeur Sanders. I'm like, what does he add to this roster that, I mean, we already talked about it, or I mentioned it, that I think the entire offense could use an upgrade at pretty much every single position. What does Shedeur Sanders add to this? And I struggle with that. And my argument always to anybody who says Shedeur Sanders should go in the top 10 is, what's he elite at? What's his skill set? Top 10 quarterbacks have to be difference makers. And look, I get it. We're looking at the Giants 1 pick later. They took Daniel Jones in the top 10 a couple years ago when nobody thought he was a top 10 pick. I mean, we can go down the list of plenty of quarterbacks over history that are probably worse than Shedeur Sanders that got drafted in the top 10. I'm not saying he won't go top 10. I'm saying you have there's 2-3 guys in this class that are blue chip superstar players in this class, and Shedeur Sanders isn't one of them. And I just don't know how you pass up I don't know how you pass up a guy like Travis Hunter or Duke Carter. I just don't know how you do that. Not for a Shedeur Sanders who, to me, again, no disrespect, he's got plenty of talent. He has a good enough arm. He has NFL qualities for sure, but there's nothing in his game that you can point to, at least to me, that says, oh yeah, he's a superstar at the next level. There's nothing there. There's nothing. I don't see it. I don't. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to that, but I just want to play out the conversation of would love Shedeur in the second round. Would love if we even traded up and got him. But no, I don't know. I can't bring myself to do that. So that's not how we're going to go with this mock. I don't agree with some of the conversations that are going out around Shedeur. I do believe, and this is a total side note, some of the kind of slander, the disrespectful stuff about Shedeur's character and things, it feels like something that is coming from people who have just been saying, oh, Shedeur's the top quarterback in this class. And it's people that kind of say it and don't really know what they're talking about, don't really study the way I think good draft analysis people study. And I'm not throwing stones. I didn't have a strong opinion coming into this draft cycle one way or the other. I didn't really study them one way or the other. And look, this is a total side note, but I do think the element, I don't love the stuff about Shedeur's character getting thrown through the mud or teams not liking him in the interviews. Who knows if that's real or fake? I have absolutely no clue. It's smoke screen season, so who the hell knows what that would be? And maybe if people are throwing that smoke screen, it has some credence to the idea that he is a top 10 guy for somebody on this board. But I don't know. I believe it's more likely that that's coming from some media guides. Call this a conspiracy theory, call this whatever you want. But I think it's more likely that's coming from media people who just don't love the idea that they were so wrong about where to value Shedeur Sanders, and now that the entire NFL is telling you Cam Ward is the clear-cut, guaranteed number 1 quarterback in this class, and there's no arguments about it. And now we're sitting around looking at Shedeur Sanders oh well, Maybe it's character. Maybe no, he's just there's nothing that he does that's elite. That's what it is. That's what it is. I'm sorry. All right, I'm done. I'm getting off my soapbox. That's just my take. I'm taking Travis Hunter here. I think he's the best standalone player in this class. Is he a corner? Is he a wide receiver? Do you care? We need both. Maybe he can play both. I don't know. I'm done doubting this dude. I think I still believe, and it does sound like, I mean, it feels like the NFL split. I've heard people argue both ways, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you definitively that I'm right or wrong. I still think he's a corner over a wide receiver. Be incredibly interesting if he does go to the Browns or wherever he goes in the top 5. He's going somewhere. That what position they announce him as. But I don't know. Do what he did in college. Make him a full-time corner and a part-time wide receiver. And in college, at least according to everything I've heard, he had packages as a wide receiver in college. And because he was just the best player on the field, those packages always went to him, and he always made big plays out of it. So I don't know. We'll see. But I'm going to take Travis Hunter. I just think he's a superstar. I think he's the best player in this class when you take out positional value. And, obviously Abdul Carter could help the team a lot. We can find some edge guys, and at the end of the day, we're trying to complement Myles Garrett. We're not trying to find the next Myles Garrett. Teams that have drafted – every other team that would draft Abdul Carter is looking for him to be a Myles Garrett type, or at least, that type of superstar potential. I mean, Travis Hunter is one of one. I think he's special. Do I honestly believe he can play both sides in the NFL? I mean, I'm just done doubting him. I don't know. My heart says no, but I guess my brain says no, and my heart says, why not? What has he done? All he's done is prove everybody wrong his whole life. So who knows? Let's go ahead and take him. Let's see what we can do in the second round. Got a top pick in the second round. Going to be a lot of conversations. The first pick in the second round. First thing we got to talk about, if there's a quarterback still here, I think you got to really consider it. And he's still here. Shedeur is still here with the 33rd pick. Look, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that in a second. I just do want to say Derek Harmon is a name that I absolutely think goes in the first round. Josh Connerly is a name I absolutely think goes in the first round. These are the names that I would really consider with the 33rd overall pick. There's going to be some guys that I believe are first rounders that are going to fall, right? These are those are the names, all right? I'm going to go quarterback. I'm going to go quarterback with Shedeur Sanders. To me, look, I already talked about how I don't view him as a top 10 pick. And look, this is the way I view it, and you can take this however you want. I guess I'm going to get back on the soapbox just for a second. If I don't view you as a top 10 pick at the quarterback position, you're not a first-round pick. I'm sorry. That's my personal opinion. If I can't call you a top 10 pick, if you don't have the traits of a franchise quarterback in the NFL, or at least the projection to be a franchise quarterback in the NFL, I'm not saying Shedeur Sanders can't do that. He's an NFL starting quarterback. I do believe he has those traits. But if I'm telling you there's a gap between the way I view a top 10 quarterback and the way I view the next tier quarterback, the first round's over. And no other positions like that, all right? I can differentiate every other position. Oh, you're not top 10, but you're top 15. Oh, you're not top 10, but you're top 20. I can make that kind of conversation. I can sit here and argue semantics with you on every single other position. Quarterback's different, and we all know why. It's the most important position in sports. It comes with the most scrutiny. It comes with everything else. You lose your job. Franchises turn over. Everybody in the building loses their job if you miss at quarterback in the top 10. That doesn't happen if you miss at quarterback in the second round. It just doesn't. You might lose your job anyway. There might be other issues, but it's not because you missed it at quarterback. You took a shot on quarterback in the second round. It is what it is. You take a shot at quarterback in the top 10, it better work. That's the reality of the situation. That's how this sport works. There's, from a fan's perspective, from my perspective, there's something fun and exciting about that, but that's a conversation for another day. Shedeur Sanders, in my book, not a top 10 guy. Not a guy I could take in the top 5. For all the reasons I gave you at number 2, why I just didn't feel like I could take Shedeur Sanders. What's he elite at? What's the special trait? He's still a really good quarterback. He processes better than I even expected when I put on the film. His mechanics are kind of all over the place. They're not great. I don't want to say they're all over the place. he drifts in the pocket way too much. He's kind of opens himself up when he's throwing way too much. These are things that are fixable. These are not things that I stress out about. The arm talent's good. It's not special. It's not ever going to be special, I don't think, in my opinion. He's really not athletic. Like, he's a pocket passing quarterback, and I know he had some athletic moments at Colorado versus future insurance salesman probably, but like, I'm sorry, like, there's just not there's not a ton of tape out there for me that I can look at and be like, oh yeah, that translates to the NFL realistically, right? Like, obviously he can get 5 yards, he can get 10 yards, put him on the goal line, he's a big guy. Like, yeah, I'm not saying he can't move. He's more athletic than Mac Jones, but like, he's a pocket passing NFL quarterback. Plenty of movement skills to maneuver the pocket, but that's about it. So again, I say all that to say, I like him here. I think he can beat out Kenny Pickett. I would like him more than Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett is actually a great example of what I was talking about. In that class, there were no top 10 quarterbacks in that class. It was the worst quarterback class we've had in a while. It was worse than this one. And Kenny Pickett goes in the first round, and then nobody else goes until like the fourth round. The NFL told you, why would we risk our jobs on this guy that we don't believe in? They wouldn't. Now, the media pushed these names. The media pushed Malik Willis. I don't know why I couldn't get there. Malik Willis going third to the Lions. And it was just never reality, because Malik Willis he didn't project as a starting quarterback in the NFL. He had a couple traits that we liked and thought was possible, and now he's a good backup. Like, he was good in spot starts for the Raiders, for the Packers. So it's fine. It's good. Shedeur Sanders has some real starting potential. I think he would beat out Kenny Pickett. Again, long intro to make this pick. I'll try and make the rest of the pick shorter, but it's interesting. These are real conversations that I do think need to be had. Super interested to hear what you guys think about it. If we can get some comments down there, let me know. All right, we got 2 picks in the third, right? 2 picks in the third. We got 67 and 94. I'm guessing one of those is a comp pick. I don't know that off the top of my head. Looking at where we're at and just the way this draft has fallen, ton of talent left. Ton of talent that I really like. I'm looking at the running backs were kind of the first name. Quinshon Judkins being here at the top of the third, that would be amazing. I'll sit here and tell you, I don't think he'll be there. Dylan Sampson might be, and I like him. Like, they're in the exact same tier for me. Love both of these guys. Now, there's a little bit of a drop-off, and then you get into, like, for me, it would be DJ Giddens. Devin Neal I like a little bit. Martinez has some talent, but Tootin would be kind of in that next tier of conversation. But DJ Giddens would probably be that tier above Tootin for me. This running back class is incredibly deep. You don't have to take a top 100 pick on a running back to do well, but we don't really have anybody there right now. Obviously, we moved on from Chubb. Ford is fine, but that's about the extent of what he is. Would love to look at offensive line. We're in a spot where, I can sit here and argue for interior or the tackle spot. I wouldn't hate taking the center, Jared Wilson, and he's a 1-year starter at center, and he's probably going to be a center in the NFL. You probably wouldn't want him making some of the protection calls early on. So maybe he plays guard for a year, but I think that would be fine. And Marcus Imbo is a guy that I really like. Tripola, guys that project as not projects, but I don't love them day one at tackle. But I think week 8, week 9 they can work in, and then you talk about year 2, we could have a starting tackle there. That fits what is going on with the Browns specifically, because I think we got older guys playing really important roles on that offensive line that there's not a ton of depth behind for me. Jonas Savaiani, I can't say his last. I suck at last names. I do. I suck at him. He's a guard in the NFL, but he's a name that I like in this range, and I believe that these are kind of some of the names. Tate Ratledge to me is a guy that would probably already be off the board realistically, but I like him a lot in this spot as well, as far as grabbing a guard, grabbing an interior. It's tough for me to say no to the running back here. Let's look at corner. Let's just see. Benjamin Morrison still being there is interesting, though. This is a guy, he had 2 hip injuries. So that's why he would fall to this range. That's why he would still be here. I actually think he could probably fall a little farther. I think it's going to be interesting with the medicals. He had one hip injury in high school, and then missed a good portion of this season, 2024 season, with another hip injury. That's scary, and who knows what that's going to end up being. Dorian Strong, definitely a tier break between those two for me, and then it kind of gets jumbled up of like, okay, who do you like? What style of corner are you looking for? It's such a mess after some of those top names fall off the board. So that's a question mark. That's something that we have to think about. If we wanted to go tight end, Mason Taylor would be an option. Again, I'm just kind of going through these names because there's a lot of them. Jordan Phillips would be a great interior. Trey Harris, if we want to go wide receiver, Trey Harris will be off the board. Jalen Noel, probably going to be off the board, probably at this point in the third. It's hard for me to imagine. Man, I love this spot for the Browns. I love this spot for the Browns. It's only difficult because there's so many names in this spot that I really like and that I could make some really good arguments for. We have we pick in a little under 30 picks. And then we got an early fourth round pick too. We're going to pass on running back for positional value. I think there's enough good names at running back. I think we're going to pass on corner because we have Travis Hunter, and I'm going to call him a corner before I'm going to call him a wide receiver. I think I'm going to use this spot to go offensive line. I think I'm just going to address offensive line. I think that's really important. I'm going to take the tackle out of Arizona. I know Tate Radledge is a name that I like. Look, I can sit here and argue about a lot of these names. I like a lot of these names in this range. I think we gotta address the offensive line. We gotta help out. Let's go ahead and grab him, and I think he can fill in first year, but wherever he's at is wherever he's at, and I'm gonna be comfortable no matter what happens there. Let's go ahead and look where we at wide receiver. Some of the top names off the board. I don't hate Isaiah Bond in the fourth round range. Kyle Williams is a name. I think he's probably going to be gone. He's going to go up draft boards. I just watched him the other day. I hadn't heard about him, but he's starting to catch some real fire, and I think the wider public is becoming more aware of a guy like Kyle Williams, just explosive guy. We could absolutely grab him here in the back of the third round. I would love that. We grabbed offensive line already. These are two good players that I have a hard time believing are still on the board this late into the draft, but it's possible. It's absolutely possible. Let's look at defensive line. Defensive line might just be where we kind of miss. We didn't take one of the premier players. I just have a hard time going anywhere else with this. I kind of started the conversation saying I wanted to help out the offense. And yeah, this is a spot. Where are we at with running back? Some of the top names, RJ Harvey just went off the board. DJ Giddens went off the board not too long ago. Yeah, that's tough. Devin Neal is in that conversation for me. He's a little smaller. What's his size? He's like 5'11", I think. Okay, yeah, nailed it. A little smaller, but he's shifty between the tackles. I really, really like Devin Neal. I think he can be a workhorse in the NFL. I really believe it. I think he has the power that he generates from his lower half is real for me, and this is a perfect range for him. This is the perfect range for him. Again, if I'm really drafting in this spot, I'm still looking, and I'm like, okay, well, I have a pick in four. I have another fourth rounder. One of these spots is going to be running back because we have to address running back before we get into the sixth, and we'll probably draft another running back in the sixth. But one of these spots has to be running back. I think we're gonna follow a trend. I think we're gonna go running back here, and we're gonna take Devin Neal, and then I'm gonna go wide receiver. And I'm going to go ahead and take Kyle Williams here at wide receiver. I talked about both of them. Devin Neal, great player, has a ton of upside at running back. Kyle Williams, I have a hard time believing he's still here in this range. I think he's going to go a little bit earlier than this, but he's explosive he doesn't have like that big moment, but incredibly explosive, has the long speed, has the ability to play the slot in a lot of different ways. I think he has a little bit of inside-outside versatility, can do it kind of everything, man. Like he's a real asset at the wide receiver position, can definitely be the wide receiver 2 next to Jerry Jeudy. there's a world where he overtakes Judy and he becomes kind of the main target. I could see that. I think like he definitely has more explosiveness than Judy does at this point in his career. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. And what did we do in this class? What did we do? Let's just look back at it. Travis Hunter, two-way player. We're going to ultimately say he's going to play cornerback, but with the real caveat that he can definitely help out on the wide receiver at wide receiver as well. Shadur Sanders could be the future of the franchise for quarterback, but we had to address quarterback at some point. We got a guard. He's a guard, not a tackle. We took a running back. We took a wide receiver. We helped out the offense. We made the offense a lot better. We're now in the 6th round. Yeah, we're now in the 6th round with the first of our 4 6th-round picks. Am I not mistaken? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 6th-round picks and a 5th-round pick. This is the range where, okay, we run out of top-tier names. We run out of guys that I can honestly tell you are going to be difference makers. Now it's, okay, where do we want to add depth? What position do we want to add depth with? I'm not really interested in diving into the players at this point anymore. We've talked about the players enough. Now we're going to shift gears and talk about – we've been talking about the team the whole time, obviously. Now we're going to shift gears and we're just going to worry about, okay, we're building for the future. A lot of these guys aren't going to make it to year 2 of their rookie contract, realistically. So it just is what it is as far as this range of the draft. Still some interesting names out there. Kyle Monunga is a name that I really like at running back, and we're going to take another running back. I'm just going to let you know that right now. If the Browns take a running back in the 2nd round, I'll still tell you they should take another one in the 6th. It's a great running back class. You're going to find a ton of value from guys like this. We took one of my favorite guys in Devin Neal. I have a draft profile out for him, by the way. You can watch that already, but we're going to take another one. If it's here, I don't know, but we're going to do that. Julian Lane would be a name that I would really consider if we hadn't already taken Kyle Williams, who they fill a similar role. Lane is smaller and probably doesn't have quite as much juice, if I'm being honest, but definitely some interesting names here. Definitely some interesting names. We're not going to go Kyle Monunga just because, again, at running back we have multiple picks in the 6th round, and I'm going to probably target Jordan James a little bit later, just because I think he adds a complement. He's a little bit thicker of a human being, but he'll add a complement to a Devin Neal, who we are obviously already got, and I like that a little bit more. So Quinn Ewers still on the board in the 6th. No, I don't think so. He could still be there. Let's add another offensive player. Let's go ahead and get Emory Jones out of LSU. We just want to grab another offensive lineman. We gotta prepare for the future at offensive line. Okay, the offensive line was really good for a couple years. Browns make the big move for Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson wasn't able to kind of produce the way we obviously wanted him to, and the offensive line's older, and we have to prepare. We gotta keep adding picks to that. I really hope that the Browns do that. I really do. I definitely want to address the defensive line at some point. Again, another position where it's like we look at edge, and they signed Joe Tryon this offseason to a smaller deal. He was the Bucs' 1st-round pick a couple years ago, right after their Super Bowl win. So he was the last pick in the 1st round. Has some potential. He had traits. He just didn't really develop into the guy I think people thought he could be. So now, 2nd contract, new team, nothing's guaranteed, nothing's promised. Ogbo is up there, good rotational defensive end, but he's nearing the end of his career too. His best years are probably behind him. Shelby Harris is a good player in the interior, but he's older. Malik Collins, I think, is the other name in the interior. Got to add some pieces there. Let's go ahead and get Cameron Jackson. I like him, the interior defensive line guy. I mentioned I had to add running back again. We're going to do that. Let's go ahead and get Jordan James. 200. He's a 200 ranked running back. Why not? Why not? Even though I don't really agree with these PFF rankings, I like Jordan James. He's going to be here in this range. I've done a draft profile on him too. He's a good player. Tajay Brooks, he's a good player. Ollie Gordon. Oh, man. Ollie Gordon's still here? The upside of Ollie Gordon's just a bigger human, way bigger human than Jordan. No, we're going to take Jordan James. I like him a lot. I have him higher than Ollie. Ollie, I think, has some value in the 5th round. I do think he's going to go. He's just such a specific type of running back. I'm kind of surprised. I don't know why I'm acting like this is a real mock that PFF isn't just nap, but I would just be surprised if he's still there at that range. where do we at? We addressed running back twice. We addressed offensive line twice. We addressed interior defensive line with the last couple picks. Again, just want to address positions, okay? I'm not really trying to make it about the player too much. Obviously, we can always just say offensive line, but we added two pieces on the offensive line. I think edge definitely makes a lot of sense. Let's add a name at edge. Let's go ahead and get Ethan Downs out of Oklahoma at edge. We just got to add a name. And then the very, very end, I don't know. I guess we could add linebacker. There's some linebackers here, so I'm going to go ahead and just take the linebacker and call it a day there for the Browns 7-round mock draft. All right, that is the 7th round mock draft. Hopefully you appreciated that. Hopefully you appreciated the second half of the video where I kind of approached the 6th and 7th round a little bit different than the rest of the draft, trying to be realistic with the way the draft actually works in real life and just kind of talking about positions and what matters for the Browns. I did not address every need the Browns have. I don't think we could have, no offense, but I don't think we could have. I think I addressed what was the most important. We added a blue chip. One of the best players that have come out in a long time, would be a top player in every draft in recent memory. Travis Hunter, amazing. Get stars. You're drafting there for a reason. I get it, but like add players that can be dynamic difference makers. I'm going to call him a corner. Maybe he's the wide receiver. Who knows? Shadur Sanders in the second, I think, is a real possibility and a real conversation. I like that a lot. If there's a chance, maybe you trade up into the back end of the first to do it. Okay, whatever. That's all the same. Had to help out the offensive line at some point. We ended up getting the Arizona kid in the 3rd round. Hurt me a little bit to pass up on some of the talent at running back, but Devin Neal is a pretty solid consolation prize for me. Again, Quinshon Judson's being there in the 3rd round, it'd be tough to pass him up, and you got to blend that. I know the fans would prefer to see the name of Quinshon Judkins, but you got to blend the actual value that offensive line is for football teams. There just aren't many bad teams with good offensive lines. That just doesn't really exist very often. An offensive line can change the entire trajectory of your football team. Everything else is more manageable and a little bit easier. So I'm always going to say, yeah, top 3, you have to draft one of them. Maybe it would have been more fun to grab the running back there, but I think just realistically, the way team building actually should be done, you got to value these things, especially if you took the quarterback in the 2nd, because we didn't get to add a real, cornerstone piece in the 2nd. So we had to add something there in the 3rd. I could sit here and argue there should be maybe more offensive linemen taken for the Browns. If it's just 2, one of them being a 6th round pick, that might not be enough. I don't know. It'd probably be enough this year, but as far as, protecting yourself for future seasons, that offensive line's old. We got to address it. It's important. But the next 2 picks at running back, Devin Neal, like I said, big fan of his. Kyle Williams, I don't expect him to be there. I expect he's going to fly up draft boards, just being realistic. I was just recently brought onto him. I hadn't watched him. He completely flew past my radar, and after watching just kind of like the first preliminary film, like, okay, yeah, I get it now. And I'm going to dive in and I'll do a draft profile on him later on just to break him down as a whole, but he's a really good player. And if he's there at that range, you just got to love that. And then looking at the day 3 picks, 6th round, yeah, I'm just interested in positions. I think defensive line's gonna need a piece. If the Browns draft a defensive lineman on day 2, I would not be shocked at all. I would actually kind of somewhat expect it. We just didn't go that route in this particular mock. If the Browns take Abdul Carter with the number 2 pick, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I just didn't go that way with this particular mock. So again, a lot of options for the Browns, a lot of situations. It's kind of fluid. Super, super excited to see what they do. I really hope that when I'm looking at their draft after it's all said and done and kind of checking out everything they did this offseason, that I can at least come away with it and say, okay, I see the plan. I see the vision. Because for me in this mock, I tried to have the vision of this is a 2-year thing. We're kind of hoping and standing on business that we can get a quarterback next year. And this year, if Shadur's there in the 2nd, great. If not, won't draft a quarterback, or we'll draft, Quinn Ewers in the 3rd, or, whatever it is. But we're not gonna overpay for a guy that, at least as far as I'm concerned, nobody from NFL teams really believes is a guaranteed top 10 pick. Like, really believes that. Will he go top 10? Maybe. But I don't know. It's just tough for me to make that move. But all right, guys, that's all I got for the Browns. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, all the good stuff. If you're still here, you got to subscribe, right? You sat through me talking draft stuff for this long. You're going to enjoy the content. Go ahead and go for it. Check out my draft profiles that I already have out. A lot of good names out there, a lot of fun conversations to talk about. All right, thank you so much for watching. Peace.